A man rushes through a crowded subway in New York. Ahead, a stranger collapses. Heart failure. Within seconds, people drop their bags, call for help, and kneel beside him. They don't know his name, his story, or even if he'll survive, but they care. Across the world, a woman donates to earthquake victims she'll never meet. A doctor in war-torn Sudan stays behind when others flee. A firefighter runs into burning buildings for people he doesn't know. Why? Why do human beings, creatures wired for survival, risk everything for strangers? Why do we cry at stories that aren't ours, feel pain for people we've never seen, and sacrifice comfort for the sake of others? This is the mystery of empathy, the invisible thread that binds us together. And to understand it is to understand the very essence of what makes us human. 1. The roots of compassion, long before skyscrapers, before language, before civilization, there were tribes, small groups of hunter-gatherers who relied entirely on one another for survival. A single injury, a bad harvest, or a predator attack could mean death. Those who cooperated lived. Those who didn't perished. Empathy wasn't born from philosophy. It was born from necessity. It evolved as a survival tool, an instinct that helped us read others' emotions, predict intentions, and maintain group harmony. Anthropologists studying early human societies discovered that sharing food, shelter, and care was not optional. It was fundamental. When one member suffered, the tribe rallied. When a child cried, every adult responded. This ancient bond wasn't charity, it was insurance. By caring for others, our ancestors ensured that when their time of need came, the group would care for them too. In evolutionary terms, empathy became one of our species' greatest strengths. It wasn't just survival of the fittest, it was survival of the most connected. 2. The science of feeling. Another's pain. In a laboratory in Parma, Italy, scientists studying monkeys stumbled upon something extraordinary. When a monkey picked up a peanut, certain neurons in its brain fired. But when it watched another monkey pick up a peanut, the same neurons fired again. These were later called mirror neurons, the biological foundation of empathy. Humans possess them too. When we see someone stub their toe, wince, or cry, parts of our brains simulate the same experience. We don't just see their pain, we feel it. Brain imaging reveals that watching another person in distress activates the same neural circuits as if the pain were our own. Empathy, it turns out, is hardwired, but it's not only in the brain. Hormones like oxytocin, often called the bonding molecule, surge when we hug, comfort, or show kindness. They literally make compassion feel good. So from an evolutionary and neurological perspective, empathy is not weakness. It's one of humanity's most advanced forms of intelligence. It's how nature taught us that caring for others is, in the end, caring for ourselves. 3. The limits of our empathy. But empathy has boundaries. Psychologists call it parochial empathy, the tendency to care deeply for those who are close to us, but far less for strangers, outsiders, or abstract groups. Our ancient wiring still favors the tribe, our family, our people, our nation. That's why one lost child on your street can move you to tears. But hearing that thousands died in a distant war may only bring a sigh. Our compassion, vast as it seems, is selective. In experiments, people were far more likely to donate money when shown a single photo of a suffering child than when told about millions facing the same tragedy. It's called psychic numbing. Our minds can't emotionally process scale. We feel deeply for individuals, but we grow numb to numbers. The Stoics of ancient Rome understood this long before neuroscience did. They warned that true virtue comes not from emotion alone, but from extending our rational care to all humanity. That's empathy, not as instinct, but as choice. Because caring for those we love is easy. Caring for those we fear or don't understand is civilization's greatest test. 4. Empathy through history. Empathy shaped more than our emotions. It shaped our history. It inspired religions to preach compassion, philosophers to imagine justice, and revolutionaries to demand equality. When the Buddha spoke of compassion for all living beings, when Jesus said, "Love your neighbor as yourself," when Confucius taught reciprocity, they were all, in essence, expanding the circle of empathy. In the Enlightenment, thinkers like Voltaire and Rousseau argued that society's moral progress depends on the capacity to feel the pain of others. And in the modern era, that same principle fueled movements against slavery, colonialism, and injustice. Every time humanity evolved morally, empathy was at the center, but history also shows its absence. Empathy is fragile, easily silenced by fear, ideology, or power. When groups dehumanize others, when propaganda tells us that they are not like us, empathy fades, and with it, our humanity. Empathy built civilizations. Its collapse destroyed them. 5. The psychology of caring. Why do some people feel empathy more deeply than others? Psychologists point to a mix of nature and nurture. Our brains, personalities, and experiences all play a role. Children raised with warmth and secure attachment often develop strong empathy. Those exposed to violence or neglect may struggle to feel it or to trust it, but empathy can also be trained. Research shows that mindfulness, storytelling, and perspective-taking exercises actually rewire the brain's empathy circuits. Simply imagining yourself in another situation, what psychologists call cognitive empathy, increases understanding, even without emotional intensity. Yet empathy isn't just emotional or rational, it's moral. It asks a question that transcends biology. How much of another's suffering am I willing to make my own? The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once said that compassion is the basis of morality, that to recognize yourself in another's pain is to act beyond selfishness. Perhaps empathy is not just a feeling, but a form of wisdom, a realization that we are not separate. 6. The empathy paradox of the modern world. We live in an age of connection and disconnection. Our screens show us suffering from every corner of the world. Wars, disasters, injustice, all delivered in real time. Yet psychologists warn that too much exposure can lead to compassion fatigue. When everything demands our empathy, we start to feel none. The constant noise of crisis can make us numb, scrolling past tragedy, liking, sharing, and moving on. Technology has expanded our awareness, but not always our capacity to care. True empathy requires presence, attention, a slowing down of the modern rush. It asks us to look, not just at images, but into the humanity behind them. Because empathy is not about knowing everyone's pain, it's about refusing to ignore it. In a digital world that prizes outrage over understanding, empathy may be the rarest form of rebellion. 7. Beyond the self. The future of empathy. So where does empathy go from here? Some scientists believe it will define the next stage of human evolution, not through genes, but through consciousness. The 21st century has given us tools that connect billions, but the challenge is to connect hearts as well as minds. Educators now teach empathy as a skill, corporations build it into leadership, and activists use it as a foundation for justice and peace. Imagine a world where technology amplifies compassion instead of outrage, where empathy becomes a global language, not limited by race, creed, or nation. We are, in essence, one organism, each life echoing through countless others. When we care for strangers, we are not defying nature, we are fulfilling it. Empathy isn't a weakness to overcome. It's the highest form of strength, the bridge between me and we. Closing reflection. From the fires of prehistory to the digital screens of today, one truth has endured. We are only as strong as our capacity to care. Empathy is what made us human, and what may, in the end, keep us human. Because when we feel another's pain, we remember that none of us truly stand alone, and in that recognition, the spark of compassion, lies the most powerful force in the universe, the simple, unstoppable act of caring. If you found this exploration insightful, give this video a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe to Timeless Questions channel for more deep dives into philosophy, history, and human nature. Because the questions may be ancient, but the wisdom is timeless.